Welcome to another stream. Happy evening this side. Maybe happy morning for you that side, or happy afternoon, all the same happy evening. So yeah, continuing my learning of FastAPI, and I like the journey I've covered so far that you've covered together with me. We can now continue. Sorry for that background noise that came from my other monitor I'm using to monitor the video. So yeah, we've come a long way. Right from here, we're now inside here, and yeah, the goal is to get done with this and then build my project. So let's get started with request files. Okay, request files, which is right here. Okay, so they say you can define files to be uploaded by the client using file. To receive uploaded files, first install Python multipart. And I did this actually in the previous stream. Those who were there then, you must have seen this. After that, they're saying make sure you create a virtual environment, activate it, then install it. For example, pip install Python multipart. Okay, and they're saying because uploaded files are sent as form data. And of course, just to prove to you, I have a virtual environment code base. So I'm doing this in case this is the first stream you're watching. And remove the $, hit enter, and there we are. Okay. So after that, I can now continue through this documentation. They say import file. So this text says import file and upload file from FastAPI. So take note of this. The Python version is 3.9 and above. And then we have annotated imported from typing. Then we have FastAPI file and upload file imported from FastAPI. So we know about FastAPI, but we don't know about file and upload file. These are the only two new things. Then here they create an instance of FastAPI. After that, now we have two groups of a path operation decorator, this one and this other one. This one say it has a route code file. This one has a route code upload file. Then here on the path decoration function, we see that this function create file has a function parameter file with a type of bytes, okay, and the metadata is file, okay. So we're receiving bytes, okay, and it's of type file, this. So they say use this, okay. So in that this is simply a function that is going to give us a special class this is a function that returns a special class, which will help us to have these bytes here. Then they say file, okay, and of course in that annotated helps us to have both the type and the metadata. Then they simply return the file size, which is the length of the file. The next one, route is upload file, says create upload file, says file, upload file. Then they return the file dot file name. They simply return the file name. So I want to see how this appears in the documentation. Remove this, paste. So let me try to access the docs. Okay, so I'll go to /docs like that. Okay, so you see we have create file and upload file. There's something else, by the way, I didn't talk about, but it's what is down here, the schemas. Okay, but let's not go into this for now. So let's start with create file. We see they tell us that it's a string, but binaries. Look at the type. They say multipart form data because we are uploading information. After that, of course, these are others we know about the successful response and the 42 validation error. Okay, then they say try it out. Okay, and yeah, we're going to try it out. So let me get back here. Okay, and let me hope I have some files on my system because I wouldn't want to share any secret thing here. But anyway, even if I did it, it won't upload to anything on any server on the internet. So let's continue. Okay, so we have all the other versions and variants, like those of you who already know. If you're working with Python 3.8 plus, okay, look at this, okay, like you see the difference here. They get annotated from typing, but in 3.8 plus they get annotated from typing extensions. Then those are using 3.8 plus but don't want to use annotated, this is how you can do it. But again, you know what they recommend, use annotated, okay, even in the tip. So yeah, those working with lower versions of Python or earlier, please make sure you check. Okay, so they say define file parameters. They say create file parameters the same way you would for body or form. So the concepts are now the same. How you create a file parameter, how you create a body parameter, query parameter, header parameter, cookie parameter is all the same. So this is what they have done, okay? And I've explained this, okay? They say file annotated, the type is bytes, and file, which enabled us to upload files, okay? And annotated, like we know, simply helps you to add the type and the metadata. So they say file is a class that inherits directly from form, okay? So that should make sense looking at what we studied earlier. So they're saying, but remember, when you import query, path, and file, and others from FastAPI, those are actually functions that return special classes. This is like the 50th time they are mentioning this, okay? They have mentioned this maybe more than 5 times, okay? So it's very important for you to understand that they're simply functions which return special classes, okay? So this lets us know that file is a subclass of form, or form is the superclass of file. Or for some of you who understand it using parent child, you can say file is the parent, is the child class of form, and form is the parent class of file. Then they have a tip saying to declare file bodies, you need to use file, because otherwise the parameters would be interpreted as query parameters or body JSON parameters. So if you want to work with files, ensure that you use file, okay, this which is up here. Import file from FastAPI and use it as metadata to your parameter, okay? So they said the files will be uploaded as form data, like we have seen in the documentation here. It's form data. Then they say if you declare the type of your path operation function as bytes, FastAPI will read the file for you and receive the contents as bytes, okay? So in other words, if you don't declare it as bytes, like we've done right here, okay? If this is not bytes, FastAPI will not be able to read the file for you and extract the contents. So you need to be specific, okay? And name it as bytes. Then they're saying, keep in mind that this means the whole contents will be stored in memory. This will work well for small files. Then goes ahead to say, but there are several cases in which you might benefit from using file upload. But this previous statement, take note of this statement which says stored in memory, okay? Not your database, not anybody else's system or server somewhere on the cloud. It is simply in your RAM, okay? Or on your machine, rather, in simple cases. And this works well for small files, which means if you have a big file, use something else, okay? And we shall see that, I'm sure, soon. So you said, but there are several cases in which you might benefit from upload file, like we have seen. There's bytes, okay, and there's upload file. I mean, there's file, using file like this, or simply upload file. So let's go on. So they're saying file parameters with upload file. Define a file parameter with the type of upload file. Okay. Now take note of the Python version 3.9 plus. They import annotated from typing, import FastAPI file, upload file from FastAPI, an instance of FastAPI. Then the actual change, this is the same as what we saw earlier, but they're just emphasizing this. Okay. So we have a file parameter with the type of upload file. Where is upload file coming? It's here imported from FastAPI. So we go on. You're saying using upload file has several advantages over bytes. Okay, that having upload file as your type here has advantages over annotating with bytes and adding file as a metadata. So let's go on. They say you don't have to use file in the default value of your parameter. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, you don't have to use this. You see here, there's nothing like file. This function is not here. We don't have to use it. Another one says it uses a spooled file. It says a file stored in memory up to a maximum size limit. After passing this limit, it will be stored in disk. Okay. So in other words, it will store it in, for example, maybe people who are using Macs, it will be stored in your unified memory. Think of it as RAM. Okay. It will store it in your RAM. Then if it passes, maybe let us say if the limit is 5 GB and it passes 5 GB, it will be stored on your hard disk. So they say this means it will work well for large files like images, videos, large binaries, etc. without consuming all the memory. Yeah, this is good because you don't want accidentally or surprisingly to find that all your memory has been consumed. That would be terrible. So they're saying you can get metadata from the uploaded file. Okay. So metadata is simply information about a file. Okay, like the name, the size, okay, things like that. Okay, this says it has a file-like async interface, and says it exposes, of course, because it's a file, we expect it to have to work with file-like things. But remember, it is async. Okay, if you remember, we studied the advantages of async in our first or second stream. Okay, advantages of async. So they're saying it exposes an actual spooled temporary file object that you can pass directly to other libraries that expect a file like object. Okay, good advantages. You don't have to use file. This is what is called a spooled file, and we learned that the spooled file is this spooled temporary file. What does it mean for it to be spooled? Meaning if it reaches a certain maximum, okay, in the memory, it is stored on the disk. This is very good. Then when we continue, they say we find that upload file. They say upload file has the following attributes: file name, a string with the original file name that was uploaded. Okay, so we get the file name. So we get the content type, saying a string with the content type or MIME type or media type, e.g. this image JPEG. It says file, a spooled temporary file, which is a file-like object. And they're saying this is the actual Python file object that you can pass directly to other functions or library that expect a file-like object. So they're saying upload file has the following async methods. They all call the corresponding file methods underneath using the internal spooled temporary file. So they do it for us, okay? So they have a function write, which says writes data, which is a string or bytes to the file, okay? Says we have read, says read size, int bytes or characters. So in other words, it writes data to a file and reads data from the file. So we have seek, and seek takes in an offset, okay, and they say it goes to the byte position offset int to the file. So int is the position, okay, of the file. So simply meaning to go to a particular place. So they're saying, for example, await my file.60 would go to the start of the file. So 0 is like the first place in the file. Then they're saying this is especially useful if you run await my file.read once and then need to read the contents again. Okay. Yeah, this is good to know. Then they say this closes the file. So they're saying all these methods are async methods and you need to await them. Okay. So they're saying, for example, inside of an async path operation function, you can get the contents with contents equals await my file.read. So they're saying if you're inside a normal path operation function, you can access the upload file.file directly. For example, contents equals my file.file.read. like this, okay? This is a normal one, which is not asynchronous, meaning you're working with the file without having this keyword, async, like this. So this makes it normal. If I add async, comes asynchronous, okay? So they're saying technical details. When you use async methods, FastAPI runs when you use the async methods, FastAPI runs the file methods in a thread pool and awaits for them. So yeah, they're saying here starlet technical details. They're saying FastAPI's upload file inherits from starlet's upload file, but adds necessary parts to make it compatible with Pydantic and other parts. So they're saying what is form data. But before this, let us test this. I want to see how it works. So I'll upload the file. Which one can I upload? Try this one. There's something on the desktop. Let's see, execute. There we are. We get the file size. Okay. Yeah, pretty basic. We can do the same for the other one. I can close this, come here, try it out too. Okay, execute. And there we are. We get the file name. Pretty simple. Okay. So yeah, let's continue. And of course, we can use this method, okay, like contents. If you want the contents, you can simply come here and say the contents, okay, is equals to await, okay, await file dot read. So see AI trying to autocomplete. Sorry. Let us see. Yeah. And we know the advantage of saying await, okay? Just like we studied in the first or second stream. So let us see, they say they're going to explain what is form data. They're saying the way HTML forms sends data to the server manually using a special encoding for that data is different from JSON. Yeah, true. Because actually we see that form data gives you, if you look at this, the format, let me cancel this, is multi-part form data. So I'll go ahead and read this. FastAPI will make sure that to read the data from the right place instead of JSON, which is good, okay? It's an advantage for us. So technical details, they're saying data from forms is normally encoded from the media type application /x -www -form -URL encoded when it doesn't include files. Of course, we know this, okay? In the previous stream, we looked at this. So this is when it doesn't include files. They're saying, but when the form includes files, it is encoded as multi-part form data. If you use file, FastAPI will know it has to get the files from the correct part of the body. Okay. So if you want to read more about encodings and form fields, head to the MDN web docs for posts. Okay. So let's have read the warning. To declare, when you can declare multiple file and form parameters in a path operation, but you can't also declare body fields that you expect to receive as JSON, as the request will have the body encoded using multi-part form data instead of application/JSON. So yeah, and also we looked at this earlier, okay? That was in the morning stream. So they're saying this is not a limitation of FastAPI, it's part of the HTTP protocol. Okay, good to know. But again, they're just repeating what we already know. So I'll go ahead, optional file upload. They're saying you can make a file optional by using standard type annotations and setting a default value of none. And this is in Python 3.10. Okay. So like we know right now in FastAPI, as long as you make anything having a value of none, default value of none, this is optional. Okay. So we already know that. Okay. Maybe can just copy this for you. Okay. Even without copying. Okay. Let me just show you. Are you seeing here? They say request body required. I close it. I open this. They say the request body is required and the file is required. So if I come back here to the code, okay? And I say this is equals to none, like that, okay? And I come here, refresh, you see, that required statement is not there anymore, okay? But if I open the second one, this one here, you see this one is still required. But for it, if I come here and I say equals to none, and come on and save, really, why is AI confusing me? I feel like I have typed it, then I removed, crazy. Save, so you see, it's now optional. If I try it out and send, okay, look what we get. You get with issues, okay? Yeah, so you need to be careful. So we know about making something optional. So they're saying upload file with additional metadata. They say you can also use file with upload file, for example, to set additional metadata. Okay, so combining both. So let us see. And if you, I don't know if you notice, things are just repeating. Okay, they just add one concept, but the basis has already been set. Like the real foundation has already been set. Everything's just a repetition of a concept, but with a different thing. Like metadata is not something new now. To us who have been, to you who have been studying with me, personally now, things are just clear. I'm not seeing anything really hard here. So are you looking at this file? Okay. The metadata they are adding is the description. Okay. And it's a string saying a file read as bytes. If you come to this one also, the same thing. Description is the metadata. Okay. And you're annotating it using upload file. This one is file. This one is main bytes. Okay. The type, remember, bytes and upload file are types. Okay, they're types. And you can add metadata to a type. Do not confuse them, okay? So to, and again, if you think I've misunderstood something, feel free to let me know, okay? I'm not like a genius or something. I can also get something wrong, and you can help me to learn. So when I've misunderstood something, I'm keeping my eyes on the chat to know that I've done something wrong. That's true. They only make us understand what is at hand from the previous knowledge. The repetition reinforces the concept. Yes, Linus. That's correct. I'm glad that, Linus, you agree with me. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just putting across that bytes and upload file are types. Okay. But you can use file explicitly to add metadata for both file. I mean for both this your argument, your file argument, your form data file argument, when the type is bytes, and also you can add metadata using file for your file argument when the type is upload file. Simple as that. So let's go ahead. They're saying multiple file uploads. It's possible to upload several files at the same time. They would be associated to the same form field sent using form data. To use that, declare a list of bytes or upload file. Okay. Remember, bytes is a type, upload file is a type, but upload file has more benefits, like we saw earlier. Being able to have that, what they call that, it's spooled temporary file, whereby if the file cannot fit in memory, then it is taken to disk. Okay. And also you can get in a good amount of metadata, okay, and so on and so forth. So again, take note of the Python version. If you look at the changes, okay, so look at this. Look at the annotation. From only 1 byte, initially they're saying give us one file, okay? But now it is a list of bytes, meaning you can get a number of files, okay? So now I want you to have this in your mind, okay? That every time I want to get multiple things, maybe multiple queries, multiple maybe body stuff, multiple cookies, multiple headers, okay? The annotation is list. Simply use list. Again, like Linus agrees with me, and all of you, I'm sure you may agree with me. This concept has repeated again and again. Okay, simply use list. Same thing. Look at upload file here. Okay, it's saying you're changing it to just simply a list. Okay, so I can go here and also change mine. I say I want a list of bytes this time, which means more than one multiple files. Then here I want a list of upload file, just like that, and I save. When I save, excuse me, I can now come back to the docs, refresh. Do you see this? It does now turn to an array. You get to an array. Let me remove this. I want to remove this. I want to make them required. Remove also this, save, come back here, refresh. You see, it's now required. If I go to try it out, you see, you now have the ability to pick a number of items. Let me try to see if I can do that. Okay. Okay, so they say add. You see, I can add as many as I want. Okay, so that's what I was looking for. That's nice. So if I close this, open this one, try it out. Even here I can also add a number, okay, of strings. Isn't this cool? Yeah, so the same concept applies. Simply annotating list like this solves everything. So yeah, they have an example here saying upload get as a main function content. Okay, this is simply HTML. Okay, so you can see this is the body, opening body tag, closing body tag, the form opening tag, form closing tag. Okay, form opening tag, form close. So there are two forms. This is the first form, this is the second form, and you can see that action is files. That's our endpoint. Okay, so file, this action here refers to the endpoint, which is this. Then the same encryption type is multipart from data, just like we have seen here, multipart from data. Why multipart from data? Because it includes a file, and the method is post. It's a post method. So see upload post. Then the input name is files, and the type is file and multiple. Why? Because we are sending more than one. Okay. Then here we have the similar thing. The endpoint is upload files, which matches what we have here, upload file. Then we have encryption type is multipart from data, because we're sending from data with a file. And then we have the method, which is post. And here we have upload post. They have an input, okay? An input. The name is files. The type is file and multiple. And so the type, of course, is submit, meaning a submit button. Then the return, the HTML response. Okay, so we can try it. I can copy, if I copy this, okay, and I refresh this and paste, okay, you will see that actually this, okay, simply gives us, it's going to render to us a form. Okay, so let me come here, copy this, open a new browser, and we go to the root like that. You see, this is the HTML. So this code here simply gives us this. And if you open the browser, okay, if you inspect the code, you see open body, you see you find the same code here. Okay, the two forms. If you open them, you see the same inputs. Doesn't change, but we can test. Okay, I can pick a file, okay, and say submit. Okay, you see we get the result. The file size. So you see, yeah, pretty basic and pretty easy to understand, in my opinion. I don't know what you think. So they say you receive as declared a list of bytes or a list of upload files. So we have technical details. They're saying You could also use from starlet.responses import response. They keep mentioning starlet, but let me just, I don't go deep into starlet, okay? But what I know that they're using it to build FastAPI. So they're saying FastAPI provides the same starlet.responses as FastAPI.responses, just as a convenience for you, the developer. But most of the available responses come directly from starlet. Yeah, it's good to know. Excuse me. So it's saying the same starlet.responses as FastAPI.responses, just as a convenience for you, the developer, but most of the available responses come directly from starlet. Yeah, sometimes it's good to read a statement again, just to make sure you've understood it. Okay. So meaning this HTML response, okay, is here. We're getting it from FastAPI from .responses, but they're saying the same thing can be got from starlet.responses, but they're actually the same. Okay, so starlet.responses is the same as FastAPI.responses. Okay, and we have actually got FastAPI.responses right here, and we imported. So they're the same thing, and it's a convenience for us. Okay, so you're saying multiple file uploads with additional metadata. So many files, but in addition to that, you have metadata. So they're saying the same way as before, you can use the file function, to set additional parameters even for upload file. So this is Python 3.9, the import annotated, FastAPI file upload from FastAPI, HTML response from FastAPI.responses. We have an instance of FastAPI, then the actual changes here, okay? We have files, okay? So we're getting a list of files, meaning a list of files, and why? Do you know that it's a list of files because we're getting bytes, okay? Then we're adding metadata. Okay. So if we go ahead, also upload file, okay? So list of upload file and also metadata. And notice this, because we're adding metadata, okay? We need to use annotated, but previously here for when you're using upload file alone, we don't need to use annotated. So annotated only works when we need to add metadata. So to add metadata for this one, we must use annotated, just like you see here. And if I copy this and remove the previous code, replace it, and go back to documentation, yeah, it's the same thing, okay? Only that now this time, you get that metadata is in this description. It's here, okay? And it's good to add these descriptions, okay? It can help the people who are reading your API to understand it faster, usually the front-end developers. Okay, so I can continue. So they're saying recap, use file bytes, upload file to declare files to be uploaded in the request. Okay, so we're going to one more thing, request forms and files, and then we probably call it a day. Okay, so they're saying use file bytes and upload file to declare, and we know that. Okay, so upload file, we know the advantages of it. Okay, we know bytes, what it can be done. We know what file does. We know we can use file for metadata. So let's go to this next one. It's actually short. Okay, but maybe before this, I need maybe to quickly summarize. Okay, so to summarize, let me do this step by step. Okay, actually, I'm also doing this to help me understand. Okay, so I can say app.post. Okay, maybe this one can be called maybe upload maybe upload file. Let me just call it that for lack of a proper name right now. Then to be an async def function called simply upload. So maybe create upload, something like that. Okay. Now we can simply return simple message. Okay, I can use AI suggestion like that. So maybe just say success. Okay, what I want to drive the point is different. So the file will be passed. Okay, and we can use this file simply like this. Okay, I can use annotated. I can annotate and say the type of data, okay, that we expect is a byte. We're expecting bytes, and it's going to be, the metadata is file. Okay, so adding this is what makes it recognized. Okay, as what? This is what helps FastAPI that you upload, you're giving it multi-part form data. But also we can add more information here, like the description, like we have seen. Okay, just say description like that for now. But also we can send multiple things, okay, by saying list of bytes like that. This is one way. The other way we have learned about is using UploadFile. Okay, we can say give us, and the type is UploadFile like that. Okay, or we can say give us a list of upload files. And we have seen the advantage of using UploadFile. We know about it. Okay, then after that, in addition to this, if I want to add metadata, okay, I simply annotate this. I say annotated like that. Okay, after annotating, I can then say comma, use file to annotate. Okay, this file here to annotate like that. And then we can add anything. If I hover over this, you see we have the title, we have description, we can put validations, okay, if we want. Minimum length, maximum length, a pattern, examples. See, do you remember examples? You can put examples for the front-end developers to see. Media type, alias, okay. So I can say title equals to, can use AI suggestion, okay. Upload file description equals to that. I have a tool called Black. Let me see if it can format. Okay, it just formatted for me properly. But I want to put a comma here, save, and format again. Okay, so this is what we have. So yeah, this is me playing around with this. And again, yeah, you can do, so another thing we saw that you can read the contents of the file. You can say content is equals to await file dot file. Yeah, now we can, because this now a list of files. Okay, we can access the file member at index 0. Then we say dot read. Okay, or we can loop. Okay, we can say contents is equals to, we use maybe something like list comprehension. Okay, we say, can say maybe f for the file, for, come on, for file in, let me say file like that. Okay, so this matches for file in await file dot read. But again, this will only read one. Okay, so here I want to say files, because it's a list, we're getting more than one file. Then here I'll say for file in files, okay, I say file dot read. Yeah, I think this makes more sense, more sensible Python code, something like this. Then we also learn that we can use HTML response to return. Okay, so just, yeah, this is me just giving a recap in my own way, just to make sure that I've understood what I've been learning. Okay, so I don't want to just blabber things and go on to the next thing. Okay, and I hope it has also helped you. So yeah, one more thing, it's actually pretty short. Let's look at it briefly. So they're saying request forms and files. You can define files and form fields at the same time using file and form. Excuse me. So info, you're saying to receive multiple uploaded files or form data. First install Python multipart. We already know this, so I think they're repeating it for people who come maybe to this page and it's their first time knowing about this. And of course, make sure you have a virtual environment, activate it, install Yeah, everybody who has done Python at least knows this. Wow, excuse me. I think I need some water or something. All right, so we see the import annotated from typing, the import FastAPI file from upload file from FastAPI. There's an instance of FastAPI here, a path decoration, a path decoration, a path operation decorator. Wow, I think I'm getting tired. Who's route his files. Okay, the function here has a number of function parameters. There's file, which is taking bytes, okay, and the metadata is file. We have file B, which is of type and upload file, metadata pass using file, token, str, a string, and using form. Okay, so this knows that it's going to be form data. This is going to be multi-part form data. This one here. This would be the stuff that had application slash x www dash blah blah blah. Okay. Just to let me just copy this and we go to the documentation so that you see what I mean. Because personally, I've also not crammed it, but when I see it, I'll remember that yeah, this is the issue. Yeah, but say I guess because we are sending files, it generalizes it to multi-part form data. But if I remove these others, okay, you see, if I remove these two and save, okay, but we have errors here. Let me remove this. Come on, what have I done? Remove that, save, okay. Then I refresh this. You see, it is x www form URL encoded. This is what when you're dealing with only the form. But the others, once you upload the file, your form data, the encoding changes from this form URL encoded to multi-part form data like that. Okay. And you can see that the file is string binary, meaning this should, when you see this, just notice they are bytes. String binary again is a bytes, token simply a string. Okay. And of course, they are picking the file size, the token itself, and the content type. So when you continue, they say define file and form parameters. And of course, those who are dealing with other versions of Python, you can look at this, okay? Like I've already said. But of course, what changes is little. Like in this case, they're simply getting annotated from typing extensions. But for us here, it is from typing, okay? And here they're just giving you an option. Those who don't want to use annotated, but yeah, they say the tip is prefer to use annotated version if possible. So I'll close this. Say define file and form parameters. Create file and form parameters the way you would for body or query. Again, repetition of the same concept. Okay, to just reinforce it. And of course, I've already gone through this up here. Okay, but of course, if you were reading it on your own, it would make sense because they actually highlight for you what they mean. Okay, so these two are file parameters. This one is a form parameter. What makes this a file parameter? Because of this file function. What makes file be a file parameter? Because of this other file function. What makes token a form parameter? Because of this form function. So file, and form are metadatas, like we know. And to add metadatas, you use annotated. So annotated, like we know, takes in the type and the metadata. Type, metadata. Type, metadata. So bytes, upload file, and str are metadata. File, form are, and I mean bytes, upload file, and str are the types. Okay. File, form are the metadata. Then of course we return a dictionary having the file size, the token, and the file B content type. When we go down here, of course, like you know what I talk about other versions, but I'll leave that. So they say the files and the forms will be uploaded as form data, and you receive the files and form fields. Like you've seen me do that, and we know it will work. And they're saying you can declare some of the files as bytes and some as upload file. Okay, just like we have seen. Bytes, upload file. So we have a warning here saying you can declare multiple file and form parameters in a path operation. Okay, but you can't also declare body fields that you expect to receive as JSON, as the request will have the body encoded using multi-part form data instead of application JSON. This is not a limitation of FastAPI, it's part of the HTTP protocol. In other words, everybody must follow this. This is the third time we're reading this, okay? We read it in the morning stream. In the previous documentation, the previous page, they said it, and now they have said it. So before you do something, have this in your mind and make a decision concerning what you want to do. Ask yourself, do you expect to receive JSON? Do you expect to receive form URL encoded? Do you expect to receive form data? Okay. So this affects what you receive, okay? Not what you give back, but what you receive. So they say recap, use file and form together when you need to receive data and files in the same request. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So file for files, form for just the usual form data. Yeah, so yeah, done with another successful stream. The next topic will be handling errors. But let's look at this in the next stream. Not today, but it will be on Monday, same time, 9 p.m. East African time. Yeah, so like I always say, I always come here to show you how learning step by step can take you very far. Okay, imagine now I'm here, or rather we are here, then handling errors. Some of them are short because we can look at both. Just like today in the morning, we looked at form data and form models. Then this evening, we look at request files and then request forms and files. Okay. So depending on their length, and yeah, before you know it, we'll be into dependencies, security, middleware, databases. Yeah, like I said, I'm very interested about SQL databases, background tasks. I can't wait to see that, and security. Yeah, and maybe debugging. All right. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've learned something. Bye, and see you in the next stream on Monday.